Okay, my outstanding friends, before we start whatsoever, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a doctor. I give no medical advice whatsoever. I am a researcher, and I have been doing very, very deep, detailed research into disease, chronic disease specifically, and the ability of the body to fight back against invasion. You have to have some basic ability to fight back, or once you get invaded, you're done. This is what they don't understand. Virtually every inoculation vaccine has the ability to cause damage, and it also has the ability to keep you from getting sick. And who was the first one to, well, I don't know the first one, but he fully understood smallpox inoculations in the Revolutionary War, George Washington. Let's get started. Okay, my friends, another shocker du jour. Everybody's talking about vaccinations, this, and they're causing this, and they're doing that, and should we do them, shouldn't we do them? Well, who came up with it in the first place? George Washington played a crucial role in the widespread adoption of smallpox inoculation, which means vaccine, during the American Revolutionary War. How about that? And if you think I'm kidding, here it says, yes, in a medical context, an inoculation is the act of administering a vaccine to a person to induce immunity. Here's the key. You introduce a tiny little bit of this stuff that's supposed to cause serious illness, and your body will respond by attacking that. But if you don't have any ability to respond, you'll get that disease or something even worse. That's what they're talking about. Autism, kids don't have any response to the MMR vaccine, which is a live vaccine. The smallpox vaccine that they were given to troops during the Revolutionary War were live. They were live. But these guys had some ability to fight back. Kids nowadays have no ability to fight back whatsoever, some of them. Kids that play in the dirt, the ones that have all of their gut bacteria working fine and they poop perfectly, they're probably going to be fine with these vaccines. But when you don't poop right, that's the key. It's all in the poop, because that's where the bacteria exists. If you don't have the bacteria there, you're done. And if you can't fight back against these live viruses, they are going to infect you and attack you. And yes, you're going to have damage, and it can be just devastating. So Kennedy's right and he's wrong. Vaccines are fabulous, but all we have to do is find out if the kid has any ability to fight back before we give him the vaccine. If he's got no ability, don't give him the vaccine. How are we going to find out if he has the ability to fight back? We have to test the fecal matter. Everything now is fecal matter transplant, and it's still against the law. It's insane, absolutely insane. All right, I want you to fully understand this, and it's very simple. I asked, is inoculation the same as a vaccine? It says yes. In medical context, inoculation is the act of administering a vaccine to a person to induce immunity. I'm going to show you how that's done in the chemistry and the biology in a minute. The terms are often used interchangeably, but they're not exactly the same. The term inoculation can broadly refer to introducing any microorganism into a new environment. In the context of disease prevention, it specifically means, now this is what we're talking about, disease prevention. It specifically means introducing a weakened or modified infectious agent, something that's going to infect you, into the body of the person that you want to make immune. So you send a weakened or modified infection into that body through methods like an injection orally or nasal spray. That's to inoculate them, to give them immunity, to whatever you're introducing into them. However, if your body can't fight back against even that little tiny bit, you're going to get sick. Something's going to happen to you that's not going to be good. There'll be all kinds of inflammation and a kill off of your bacteria, quite likely. And then you'll start to have diarrhea and issues like that, where you're not digesting correctly because your bacteria is all messed up. And that's what happens with antibiotics and a lot of other things that infect you. They come in and they try to kill your bacteria. And if they can get to your bacteria and kill it, and it can't produce the enzymes, you're in trouble. All right, this is very, very simple. This is about bacteria and enzymes and how they affect the body. You have to have thousands and thousands of different bacteria species in you. And they live everywhere in you, on your skin, in your eyeballs, in your ears, everywhere. And they're specifically in your digestive system, there's a ton of them. Your poop is half bacteria. Half of what you poop is just bacteria. It's not even, it's living cells of bacteria. Now, they live everywhere. Lymph is their product. Bacteria, well, lymph is where they survive, primarily to create these enzymes to put into the lymph. The lymph contain these ribosomes, and they are in every single cell in the bacteria that's in your lymph. You can have 1 million of these ribosomes. I'm going to show you all this stuff in great detail in a minute, but you can have 1 million of these ribosomes in every single cell, and they're dormant until they're called upon. Once they get triggered, they activate, and then somehow the body directs those enzymes to the wound through the fluid-filled highway, FFH. And I'm going to show you this in great detail. But bacteria are living. They're alive. You have to keep them alive. All right? They're single-celled organisms. Again, I will show you. Enzymes are non-living protein catalysts that are in ribosomes. I'll show you that in a minute, too. And they speed up chemical reactions by up to trillions of times. The reaction that can happen in less than 1 second from an enzyme would take sometimes millions, even billions of years. It works that fast, and it doesn't even get consumed. It goes, and it's just, the only limitation to it is how fast it can hit the substrate, which is the material that's going to change. And that's how it breaks down our food. That's how it kills invaders. But if you don't have the bacteria to create the enzymes, you're done. It really is as simple as this. Everything you're hearing now is about the microbiome. Well, that's because the microbiome is the orchestrator of everything in your body. They call it the gut-brain connection. Well, it's the bacteria-brain connection. And here's what happens. These are bacteria. They're single cells, little tiny buggers. I mean tiny, and they create these little ribosomes. They have a DNA program in them, just like we do, that says you're a human being, you're a male, you're this, you're that, and all the way down to a very specific thing, and then the last little bit of it says, I am going to make these ribosomes. And you say, well, what is a ribosome? A ribosome is an enzyme. Well, what is an enzyme? I just showed you, or told you, I believe, they do things millions, billions of times faster than it would happen, but it has to happen. In other words, these can come out and break down food, kill invaders, do all that stuff instantly, where it would take years and years and years. You die, you fall over dead like that within 2 or 3 seconds if you didn't have enzymes in your body. Every single chemical reaction that happens in your body, 100%, is facilitated by the enzymes that are in these ribosomes. 100%. That guy's dead, you don't get the ribosome. You don't get the ribosome, you can't fight back against a certain invader. All right, this is a animal cell just like we have. They have a membrane, they have all these little holes, things can come in and go out. There's ribosomes. And you don't see it, but there's millions of them in here. Literally in one cell you can have millions of ribosomes. They're the tiniest little chemistry set, and that's all they are, is a chemistry set. They don't eat, they don't poop, they're dormant. Somebody comes up and says, hey, I need you. And they just blossom into an enormous enzyme. That's where the enzymes come from. So if you're being invaded, it gets tickled with a trigger, it says, and it opens up, and it goes just like this, from a little tiny ball, which we saw, it comes like just a huge thing like that. And it goes, and goes and kills everything that's coming in at it. If you don't have that ribosome, you're never going to get this. Why wouldn't you have the ribosome? Because the bacteria never made it. Why wouldn't you have the bacteria? Because the bacteria is dead. Why did bacteria die? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I can point them all out. And a lot of it starts with the open use of antibiotics, because that just is broad range. They call it broad spectrum. It kills them all. And then your body's supposed to bring that back. Well, if it kills them all bad enough, they don't come back. They're supposed to come back because of your appendix. Everybody says appendix. No, that's just a piece of extra meat hanging off there. No. That is a backup delivery for the feces to be held in case the rest of it dies in your body. That'll migrate out into and sooner or later you'll get healthy again. But if your appendix is gone, or it's so bad that it can't produce enough, then you're in trouble. Then you get real sick. And if you can't fight back quick enough, you're done. What you're missing is the enzymes, because the ribosomes aren't there, because the bacteria was killed for whatever reason. And there's another reason, is that like these genetically modified foods, they eat bactericide, which is, they eat herbicides. All right, that's the way the plant can live and all of the weeds die. But the plant is eating the same stuff the weeds are eating, and the weeds die. The plants eat it, and they consume a whole batch of it, and they spray it right onto the stuff, this particular stuff, to dry it out even right before you eat it. Now, when you eat it, in my mind, it's going to kill some of your bacteria if you eat enough of that stuff. Your bacteria should be able to fight back against it, but I don't think it's able to in the quantities that we've been getting this stuff now. This is all processed foods. And when they process it, they remove the natural bacteria, I believe, in most cases. And in other cases, they put in herbicides, which can kill the bacteria that's living in you, that you need to make these enzymes. And that's the bottom line. And now there's a way around this. We can still do all these bad things, but we have to find out what's in that kid's gut before he gets any shots, and you and me too. Before we get the vaccine, we should have a bacterial swab, and we should have this every time you go to the doctor. They ask you for a urine sample for diabetes. Who cares? That's fine. But what about a fecal swab so you can find out what bacteria you have? That's the key. Because every bacteria, there's thousands and thousands and thousands. You say, oh, they can never figure it out, there's too many. No, that's not true. They can easily figure it out, because there's this thing called spectral analysis, which gives you an actual frequency back. When you flush it with a certain light, and then you pick up what is being bounced back, it will tell you this is blue, this is green, this is yellow, this is orange, this is pink, this is thousands and thousands and thousands of different colors. All the way up from here, all the way up. This is only the visible spectrum is there. There's a million different frequencies you're going to get back, and that identifies the specific type of bacteria, the exact specific type of bacteria. And if you see that all the yellow is missing in one guy, and everybody that's healthy has a yellow, well, then you got to figure out a way to isolate that yellow and turn it into whatever, ferment it or whatever you have to do to grow it, so that you can introduce it to people so that they have the correct bacteria in their guts. And I'll show you exactly how the bacteria works right now. Now, this is a broad overview. I am going to show you the exact details of what's going on here in a second. If you're, scientifically minded, you'll enjoy them. This is the ribosomes. Millions can fit in one single cell. They're that small. But when they come out, they get triggered. The trigger hits and it goes, pew. the sheath goes flying off. I don't know what happens to that. And then you end up with one of these. If it's an enzyme, it's so exotic, it's like this. If it's a protein, not quite so exotic. What's the difference? This one comes from a bacteria that says, we're going to break things. Enzyme breaks stuff. Proteins come from a bacteria that says, we're going to make products out of the stuff that these other guys break. Simple as that. That's what you call cooperation. Enzymes are proteins. It's just this breaks, this makes. They both come from the similar source, but a different species. If you kill a certain species and you need that enzyme, not going to be there. What this is doing, these work with half-lives. Everybody knows about the half-lives of things. Well, the half-life of these molecules, these enzymes, is so quick because of all of this intricacy that it just goes and it does 1,000,000 years worth of chemistry in less than a second. Because these come out and they have all of this magnetic, they call them dipole molecular moments, which means there's a polarity here, a polarity here, a polarity. Every one of these has a certain polarity to it. And if it's not exactly where it's supposed to be in these, it won't work. It becomes, they call it, I can't remember, denatured. It's just not natural anymore, so it won't work. So this is the product you want from the bacteria, which created the ribosome, which opened after it was triggered. Now, I'm going to show you the whole process up to where it makes you immune. Let's just start with this. If that bacteria is dead, if you don't have one of those, none of that happens. Just nothing happens. So you got to have the bacteria to start with. Where that bacteria comes from is a huge number of sources. You get it from your parents, you get it from your environment, you get it from your dog, you get it from everything. Once it gets into you, if it finds a place to grow and it's not rejected, it'll be inside of you, living as bacteria. There's a lot of bacteria that's in us that I don't think has any purpose whatsoever. It's just that it's in the environment and it finds a place to live in you, and if it doesn't hurt anything, well, everything's fine. But this bacteria is going to make us healthy. So it creates a ribosome, which is this. And the ribosome is one of these chains of polypeptides. They call them polypeptide chains. Some of them are very long, some of them are short. Depends what the job is going to do. And so this is the process to make the ribosome, which is here. Anytime you see this fuzzy stuff, and if it has an ASE on the end, this is transferase. It doesn't show it, but it's the T means transferase, which means we're going to transfer this protein chain into an mRNA strand, which is this. So it comes over and it goes, and there's 20 different amino acids, and every one of those in a chain. I mean, the program capability is off the charts. So inside of here, it programs this mRNA. Now, somehow the mRNA through the lymph taps in to the DNA, which is just, DNA is everywhere in your body. So it taps in somewhere. I don't know how many it does, or if it has to do a lot of them, or just one will do it and somehow everybody gets the same program. I don't know. But I do know that to make you immune from something, you need to have all of this happen, and then the mRNA come in and say, okay, from now on, if you see this, if you see one of these come in, I want you to go out and kill it. All right, that's the program. It says, you see this, I want you to produce an enzyme. And that enzyme comes out and it goes, done. Case is closed, you're immune. But if it attacks you, and this never happened, you're open to a serious invasion. Even when they give you these very small amounts of live viruses. The kid's got to have some of this yellow or some of this blue or some of this green in his gut somewhere to react. And if he doesn't, well, there's going to be no reaction to that invasion, and illness will be the outcome. And this is what chronic disease is. You never have this stuff to react. It just keeps going, going, and going. And your body tries to fight back with, you get fever and you get all kinds of things. They try to invade it with other chemicals. Inside your own body is going to try to fight back. But it says, I don't have the right guys. I don't have the troops. I can't do it. What do you want me to do? Well, I'll throw some of this and throw some of that. And then they say, well, now you got a cytokine storm. Well, what's a cytokine storm? It means your body is attacking itself. It's sending all of its frontline troops and saying, go kill this thing. Say, I can't kill it. We can't kill it. We have no defenses. That's what a cytokine storm is, and then you die. So I'm going to leave it at this. Bacteria literally run your body, 100%. Not a single thing happens without bacteria creating a ribosome, which creates an enzyme. The bacteria produce enzymes. They break down complex waste into smaller pieces. Even your food, everything, or even anything that invades you. They break it into smaller pieces with the enzymes, which they then consume as food to survive and reproduce. In some cases, correct. In other cases, it's to save you so you can survive. The key difference is bacteria are alive. They're the single-celled liver, and they multiply. They grow in your body continuously if they're healthy. And they have to be healthy or for you to be healthy. So they multiply and thrive, and they are alive. Enzymes are the tools. They're the tools that break down, catalyze reactions billions of times a second, and they're eventually consumed or used up. So the bacteria has to keep pumping them out. It doesn't take long for you to get sick after you get an infection. If you can't fight back, you can get sick very quick. If you can fight back, you never get sick. I guess I'm going to leave it at that, but I would love to talk to Kennedy or any of those people. This is not hard to understand, but we have to get that database of what everybody should be having. And when these kids go in to get their shots, they should be able to take a fecal swab, and with the new technologies we have now, they should be able to go blip, 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 and say, uh-oh, that kid's going to get sick if you give him that shot. It really is. Let me just show you that last bit, because that's the spectroscopy that they should be able to use now with AI. It should be almost an instantaneous analysis. All right, I already talked to you about spectroscopy. All it means is the spectrum, the different colors in the spectrum. And 100% of everything there is can be identified by its color pattern. And they will all be different. You're not going to have the exact same color pattern from this as you will have from this or that. It's not going to happen. It's just not, it's impossible. The color pattern you receive back is what that thing is made of. AI is significantly enhancing spectroscopy by automating these data analysis, all that extreme exact frequencies, increasing accuracy, enabling more powerful predictions and classifications of chemical and biological samples. What would we have to do if this thing worked correctly? If you brought a fecal sample, or all you had to do was a fecal swab and take it out and look at it right away, and AI would tell you this is present or it's not present, and how much compared to the rest. That's what you need, and that's all you need to be able to tell if you have the ability to fight back. And sooner or later, these patterns will develop that they'll say, hey, every time we see this, this one's high, this one's low, this one's this one's that. And this is machine learning, they call it, and it will eventually, very quickly actually, be able to tell what we have to supplement in order to be healthy. And then we can use these pesticides. We don't care about the things that we're ingesting almost. I'm telling you right now, if you have the right enzymes in your body, that's what they're there for, is to deal with these things. Now, I'm not saying, like I say, I'm not a doctor. I'm a researcher, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you got the right enzymes, I don't see that there's anything they can't break down. Because you got a kid here, he's never going to get sick. The kid right next to him gets sick no matter what he does. He touches something, he gets sick. This guy, no. And there's other things called tight junction cells. That's another thing that, but that's also controlled by enzymes that create the fluids that keep these cell junctions together so they can move around and slide and slurp, but they're coated with something and you can't get into them. Same thing with your nerves. Autism and all these nervous functions, nervous disorders, are primarily because these myelin sheaths that coat billions of little tiny wires, and I don't care what you say, that's what they are. They're little tiny wires. They have little electrical signals that run through them. And if you can't code them correctly and they have to move and do this and that, and they're shorting out here, we can get out of this. We need that database. That can be done within weeks. Literally within weeks. This is not a big do. And this is a cover basically everything for chronic illnesses. But it's a research project. It's got to be done, and it can be done very simply, very quickly, and I think be very effective and not intrusive on our way of life. Look at this. I'm just getting ready to post this video, and this pops up. A new weapon against cancer, cold plasma destroys hidden tumor cells. Well, I don't care about the tumor cells. You got to have the biology inside of you to fight back. This is what happened. They're trying to kill the cells, but the cells are going to come back somewhere else because you don't have the biology here to fix that. It's they just don't understand how cancer attacks. Cancer attacks through membranes that are unprotected. I'm just going to leave it at that.